Best Picture Nominees 2024. Here we go. Hey, what's up? It's Gilbert.K here, and welcome to a very exciting episode. Today, we'll be discussing the Best Picture nominees of 2024. First thing first, and the winner is Oppenheimer. It is directed by Christopher Nolan, and the stars are Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon. So what is it about? Alright, so Oppenheimer and his crew made the first atomic bomb in 1945, but then got sidelined when the government decided to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki, kicking off a nuclear arms race he didn't want. Despite feeling guilty and trying to push for less nuke development, Oppenheimer's advice got ignored, especially by this guy Strauss, who really didn't like him. Strauss even rigged the hearing to discredit Oppenheimer, effectively cutting him off from nuclear policy stuff. Years later, though, Oppenheimer got a bit of nod from President Johnson with an award, kind of a sorry for the mess. The whole drama showed Oppenheimer was just scared of where nuclear weapons were heading. The movie won 7 Oscars, 342 wins, and 357 nominations, to name a few: BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice Awards. Here's a geek fact for you guys. This will be Christopher Nolan's 6th film to be shot on IMAX 70mm, following The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet. Here's a fact for you. Christopher Nolan's longest-running film at 180 minutes. It was Nolan's wish to surpass his previous longest-running film, Interstellar, 169 minutes. Next, American Fiction Nominee is directed by Cord Jefferson, and it's his first directorial debut. The stars are Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, John Ortiz. So what is it about? Monk Edison, a classy writer in LA, struggles because his work isn't enough for publishers. He gets into trouble at his uni for his blunt talk on race and heads back to Boston to cool off and hang with his family. His life is a bit of a mess, with his mom's Alzheimer's, his sister's sudden death, and his brother's drama. He's fed up with literary stereotypes. Monk writes a parody novel, My Pathology, as a joke, but it blows up under the alias tag R. Lee, unexpectedly becomes a bestseller, leading to a weird situation where Monk ends up judging his own book for an award alongside author Sinatra, who disagrees with but finds common ground. Family issues continue, and his personal life gets rocky, especially after breaking up with his girlfriend Caroline over the book. In a twist, the whole saga turns out to be a screenplay with a potentially tragic ending that he's not too happy about. In the end, Monk's life is still a mix of success and personal turmoil, with a movie on the horizon that might end with him being fatally misunderstood. The film won 1 Oscar, 60 wins, 165 nominations in total. Some of the highlights: BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice Awards, and so on. Did you know the first film from Orion Pictures and MGM to win the People's Choice Award at the Toronto International Film Festival? Here's another fact for you. The movie is based upon the book Erasure by Percival Everett. Next, Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet. The stars Sandra Hüller, Swan Arlo, Milo Machado Graner. So what is it about? In a mountain chalet near Grenoble, Samuel Maleski dies after falling from an attic window. His wife Sandra, a writer, and their visually impaired son, Daniel, get tangled in a murder investigation. Sandra insists it was an accident, but evidence and recording of a fight between her and Samuel suggest otherwise. The case goes to trial, where it's revealed that their marriage had lots of issues, including accusations of infidelity and violence. Daniel, struggling with the truth, decides to testify, sharing his perspective on his father's possible suicidal thoughts. In the end, Sandra is acquitted, partly thanks to Daniel's emotional testimony. The story wraps up with Sandra and Daniel reconciling, each admitting their fear of the other's return home. And Sandra reflects on her relationship with Samuel as she falls asleep. So the film won 1 Oscar, 99 wins, and 183 nominations in total. Did you know after actress Jane Fonda announced that director Justine Triet had won the Palme d'Or at the 2023 Cannes Film Festival for this film. She gave her acceptance speech and left the stage to the nearby bleachers on stage, where the rest of the team was waiting. But she forgot to award a rolled paper certificate on the podium. Fonda picked it up and tried to get Trier's attention to give it to her. After a few more tries, Fonda tossed the certificate in Trier's direction. Fonda threw up her hands in joking resignation, and the crowd laughed along with her. For this role as Snoop Border Collie, Messi was awarded the Palme d'Or at the 2023 Cannes Film Festival. Next is Barbie Nominee, directed by Greta Gerwig and stars Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Issa Rae, and Simu Liu. So what is it about? The movie starts with Helen Mirren telling us how Barbie rocked the world, with a dramatic shot of giant Barbie in a desert. In Barbie Land, where Barbie and her friends live, Barbies run the show while Kens, they don't do much. Ryan Gosling's Ken digs Margot Robbie's Barbie, but she's not into him. Barbie freaks out over aging, gets advice from Weird Barbie, and decides to fix the sad kid playing with her by going to the real world, dragging Ken along. They end up in LA, some mishaps, and Ken enjoys discovering the real world's patriarchy. Barbie tries to help her human Sasha, but gets criticized and ends up crying. The Mattel CEO tries to deport Barbie back to Doll World, but she escapes with Sasha's help. Back in Barbie Land, Kens take over, but Barbie and friends lead a rebellion to take back control. After some drama, Barbie learns she doesn't have to stick to one path from Ruth Handler's spirit and decides to live as a human, embracing her new life boldly. It's a wild story, folks, about empowerment, identity, and breaking free from expectations. The film won 1 Oscar, 188 wins, and 423 nominations in total. Here's another fact. Ryan Gosling decided to play Ken in the movie after spotting his daughter's Ken doll in the mud. With a squished lemon, he took a photo, sent it to Greta Gerwig, and declared, "I shall be your Ken." His story must be told. Next, The Holdovers Nominee. It's directed by Alexander Payne and the stars Paul Giamatti, Davin Joy Randolph, Dominic Sessa. So what is it about? So basically, everyone's not a fan of this teacher, Paul Hunham, because he's super stiff and full of himself. He's got no family vibes going on, so he ends up staying at school over Christmas in 1970 to watch over some students who can't go home. It ends up being just him, a troublemaker kid named Angus who's smart but always on the edge of being kicked out, and a head cook, Mary, who's dealing with her own loss from the Vietnam War. They're like this mismatched group stuck together for the holidays, end up having some funny times and learn a lot about each other and from each other. Fast forward to the holiday season, Paul gets the short end of the stick because he annoyed the headmaster. He has to babysit some of the privileged kids who can't leave for the holidays. With no better plans, he's stuck in this role but ends up facing a chance to change his ways by hanging out with a smart, rebellious teen and a school's cook who's mourning her son. It's all about them finding out they can actually get along and choose their own path forward. The film won 1 Oscar, 132 wins, and 199 nominations in total. Some of the BAFTA, Critics' Choice Awards, Golden Globe, Satellite Award, and so on and so forth. Here's a fact for you. The entire film was shot in real, practical locations. No sets or sound stages were used. It's the first Alexander Payne film since About Schmidt not to have cinematography by frequent collaborator Eden Papamichael. Next, Killers of the Flower Moon Nominee is directed by the master Martin Scorsese and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone. Alright, so the Osage Nation is mourning how they're losing the culture to white American society, right? But then they strike oil on their land in Oklahoma and become super rich. They need white guardians to manage their money because the law thinks they can't handle it. Cut to 1919, this guy, Ernest Buckert, comes back from World War I and gets involved with his uncle William Hale, who's pretending to be all nice to the Osage, but actually looks down on them. Hale is secretly behind a bunch of murders of Osage folks who have valuable oil rights. Ernest falls for Molly Kyle, an Osage woman with oil rights, amid a bunch of shady dealings and murders orchestrated by Hale to grab more oil rights. Ernest and Molly get married, trying to navigate this messy situation. Hale orders more hits to secure oil rights, including trying to take out Molly's family. The community is trying to fight back, getting attention from Washington, but those who go to seek help end up murdered. As things get worse, with Hale's dirty tactics escalating, the FBI steps in. They uncover the whole mess, including the plot to poison Molly. Ernest, facing the music and after a personal loss, turns on his uncle, leading to their convictions. Despite their parole, the scars remain, with Molly moving on and passing away years later. The story wraps up showing the Osage community still thriving today, keeping their traditions alive. The film is nominated for 10 Oscars, 122 wins, and 398 nominations in total, including Bodil, BAFTA, Chicago, Critics' Choice Awards, etc. Did you know that George Clooney had expressed interest in directing a film adaptation of David Grant's nonfiction book, Killers of the Flower Moon, prior to Martin Scorsese coming aboard as a director? Martin Scorsese said that when he read David Grant's book, Killers of the Flower Moon, he knew that he had to make it into a movie. Scorsese spent several hours together with Chief Standing Bear to convince the Osage Nation to help with the filming. The next nominee is Maestro. It's directed by Bradley Cooper and it stars Carey Mulligan, Bradley Cooper, and Matt Bomer. In the 1940s, Leonard Bernstein, American composer, became famous for his complex music. He was dating a clarinetist, David Oppenheim, but then he met an actress, Felicia Montealegre, who really inspired him. They started dating and got married. Leonard made it big in Hollywood, but always loved fancy music, so he kept looking for more complicated stuff to compose. His personality started causing problems with Felicia. After having 3 kids, Felicia got fed up with his stress and left him, which made Leonard take a hard look at himself and his mistakes. The film is nominated for 7 Oscars, 25 wins, and 180 nominations in total. Here's a fact for you. Bradley Cooper would give direction to the camera operators while acting on camera by speaking to them when his back was turned on, giving them gestures when his hands were out of frame. The next nominee is Past Lives. It's directed by Celine Song, and the stars are Greta Lee, Theo Yu, John Magaro. So what is it about? The film, Nora and Hae-sung were super close as kids, had to split when Nora moved from South Korea to North America. It's been 20 years and they're pumped to meet up again in New York City, hoping to catch up right there where they left off. Even though they're gone different ways in their careers, their connection is still solid. But life is full of surprises and changes, right? So when they finally meet again, Nora and Hae-sung have to deal with all what-ifs and choices that they didn't make during a super important week. Life twists and turns really shape our relationships, and time can change everything, from childhood crushes and unreturned feelings to even who we are. The film is nominated for 2 Oscars, 78 wins, and 222 nominations in total. Here's a fact for you. Song indicated that she tried to keep Lee and Theo Yu separated as much as possible to help the scenes who their 2 characters finally meet in person after a long separation. Here's a tip for you guys. The next nominee is Poor Things, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and it stars Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and William Dafoe. What is it about? In London, Godwin Baxter is a well-known scientist and surgeon, but some of his students think he's a real-life monster like Dr. Frankenstein. He's got a ward named Bella Baxter, who's like a baby trapped in a young woman's body. Godwin doesn't know much about her past, so he keeps her locked up in his place to keep them both safe. He's all about science. So he hires one of his students, Max McCandles, to keep an eye on Bella's growth. Max doesn't really know what he's getting into. When Max finds out the truth about Bella, he's cool with his role in her life, and Godwin's okay with it too. Godwin even sorts out some legal stuff for Bella's future to protect them. Then this full-on-himself lawyer, Duncan Wedderburn, comes into the picture. He doesn't know much about Bella's past, just the legal bits he's supposed to handle. Duncan falls for Bella, and with Godwin knowing, takes her out of the compound. Bella starts experiencing new things and growing in different ways, thanks to Duncan and the world he shows her. The film won 4 Oscars, 106 wins, and 410 nominations in total. Did you know that director Yorgos Lanthimos received an 8-minute standing ovation at the world premiere during the 2023 Venice Film Festival, and none of the stars could attend due to the SAG-AFTRA strike? And the final nominee is The Zone of Interest, directed by Jonathan Glazer, and the stars Christian Friedel, Sandra Hüller, Johann Carthus. In German-occupied Poland in 1943, Hedwig, a determined mother of 5, wants to keep her life just the way it is. She's worked hard to create a perfect home for her kids, and she doesn't want anything to change. Her husband, Rudolf Hose, is a high-ranking SS officer and a commander of Auschwitz, and he's always busy with his work. Meanwhile, Hedwig's perfect world starts to fall apart without her realizing it. Rudolf is overwhelmed with work, testing new equipment for the concentration camp, and managing the installation of efficient incineration. As Hedwig's ideal world is tainted by the terrible smells and sounds from the camp, it raises the question, when evil becomes ordinary and apathy is effortless, what separates humans from monsters? The film won 2 Oscars, 55 wins, and 155 nominations in total. Here's a fact for you. This is director Jonathan Glazer's first non-English language film. Sir Martin Amis, author of the source novel, died on May 19, 2023, the same day the film had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. And last fact for you, director Jonathan Glazer fixed up to 5 fixed cameras in the house and garden with no visible crew to capture many scenes, so the actors didn't know if they were being shot in a close-up or a wide shot. They were totally immersed in the scene and enjoyed working in that realistic environment. There you have it, folks. We just covered the Best Picture nominees of 2024. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Until next time, Gilbert.K out.